The secret to success is good leadership. And good leadership is all about making the lives of your team members or workers better. I invite Dr. N. Mani, Professor, Head Department of Economics, Erode Arts and Science College, to welcome the gathering and introduce our chief guest.
Yes, most respected chief guest of this day for this webinar, and all other dignitaries, those who are joined with us today all over the world, and very particularly our students and faculty members. Good evening to one and all. When we organize this webinar, from every quarter, there is a very good response, and very many senior economists or academicians, they suggest that these kinds of actions has to be taken by the academic institutions. This is timely and need of the hour. These are our suggestions. This is not our suggestions. This is the suggestions by experts. So such kind of a program, when we planning to organize this kind of a program, immediately we think about Dr. Gopalapalli Amarthalingam from Colombo University, Sri Lanka. Of course, he is a very good friend of us, and he has participated one of our international conference in 2009 in our campus. He has inaugurated that conference in February 2019. He is not only a very good academician, he is a wonderful or nice or a humanitarian. He is a senior economist. He is a senior professor in the Department of Economics in Colombo University, Sri Lanka. He is a consultant, economic consultant for intergovernmental organizations and also for Sri Lankan government also. He has a member of, he is the tax consultant for President of Sri Lanka in 2019, and a member of expert committee for formulating the sustainable development goals vision in 2030 for Sri Lankan government. Apart from that, he is specialized, his area of interest, research interest, is migration, displacement, and very particularly fiscal economics. Dr. Amarthalingam, in this current situation, he is contributing his whole intellectualship to putting suggestions to the government and as well as the economists all over the world. And he is giving his expertise, or he is expressing these thoughts. He expressed his intellectualship not only in English, but also in Tamil, and it has been widely circulated in both print and electronic medias. Such a wonderful economist, a senior professor in the University of Colombo. Today, he has joined with us. He has cautioned us that one of the crises is the energy crisis, electricity crisis. At any time, there may be power cut, and he is forced to switch off his video, and we can have our we can hear his voice. In such a situation, Professor Amarthalingam has joined with us. We wholeheartedly welcome you, sir, for this August gathering. in this evening. We wholeheartedly welcome our principal and our director. Director Dr. R. Venkatachalam is a former principal and former faculty member of our department. Now he is the director of our institution. He is cooperating with us and he is supporting with us on all these kinds of progress. He is going to join with us shortly, and I think he is, of course, he may felicitate our webinar in the end of the discussion. Like that, our principal also graciously engaged whatever program that we put forward even through our department. He generously express his consent and he gives his suggestions to conduct all such program. Either it is a physical mode or it is virtual mode or any other training program, skill development, whatever we planned in our department. He is cooperating with us and he is encouraging. He is encouraging to conduct such kind of events. He is also going to join with us shortly. We, on behalf of this webinar, wholeheartedly welcome both director and the principal and our faculty members and the faculty members all over India, and of course in some of the other nations. We are not able to identify them, but there are people, they have joined with us in this webinar. This is an opportunity. Otherwise, such kind of a gathering is not possible. So all the dignitaries, all the academicians, all faculty members, researchers, including Dr. Shivashankar is joined with us from Pondicherry University. Like that, very many people are assembled here to hear about Dr. Amirdalinjam lecture. I wholeheartedly welcome all of them, very particularly our students. Our students in every physical mode of presentation, every expert, they suggest that this kind of experts are giving their valuable feedback that these students are wonderful students. They are very much passion hearing, and also at the end of the session, in many sessions, our students has given valuable inputs, valuable feedback in written form about the program. Here also they are ready to give their feedback. Such kinds of students are also joined with us. I wholeheartedly welcome our students. And apart from that, general public in Tamilnadu and in Sri Lanka and some other countries also, they have joined in this webinar through the Zoom virtual mode as well as the YouTube. And I wholeheartedly welcome all of them to this webinar. It is one of the important event by this time. He is one of the notable economists to contribute such type of issue. So I request all of you to mute your mics. At the end of the session, there will be opportunity for you to raise the questions. And some of our friends told me, suggest me that why not this session should be bilingual. This session is particularly focused, or it is particularly prepared for the purpose of the people, those who are not only from Tamil Nadu, or not only those who are knowing Tamil, but this is a webinar which is organized for the people all over the globe. So that it has been organized in English, and Dr. Amirdalinjam is going to present this session. Yes, like other participants, those who are eagerly waiting to see his presentation, I am also eagerly waiting to see his presentation. I take this opportunity as a wonderful opportunity for me to welcome all of you in this evening. And this could be not only for Sri Lanka, this could be a kind of a crisis or some other issues. Whatever the situation or whatever the issues take place, whatever the Amirdalinjam sir is going to present, this may be helpful in future time course of period also for other countries' economic crisis. So with these few words, I limit my welcome address. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Ananda.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Manisa, shall we move to special address?
Yeah. You request Dr. Amrithalingam to present.
Okay. So every thought you can produce, anything you say, any action you do, it bears your signature. Now I request our chief guest, Dr. K. Amrithalingam, Senior Professor, Department of Economics, University of Colombo, Sri Lanka, to deliver his special address.
Very good evening to you all. I am privileged to be with you at this critical juncture. I'm extremely thankful to my best friend, Professor Mani, for having me in this forum. I have a lot of friends here, including Dr. Shivakumar, Dr. Shivashankar, and others. I'm happy to see you all. I'm extremely thankful to your principal, president, all faculty members, students, Dr. Saravana Kumar, Dr. Arul Jyoti, everybody. I'm happy to see you all. Thank you very much for having me here. So rather than going suddenly to the crisis factor, but we, face today, I would like to give you some sort of historical perspective quickly, very quickly. Then only you can understand, because this crisis did not occur all over the night. At the end, I will say this is man-made disaster. Our policymakers, politicians, everybody have invited this crisis. Why I am saying so? Firstly, I would like to show you some of the issues not addressed in the longer term. Number one is primary balance. What do you mean by primary balance? When you see the data from 1950s to even 2020, 70 years period, except few years, largely we have negative primary balance. As a percentage of GDP, you can see, except few years, positive. Otherwise, always negative. What is the meaning of primary balance? Primary balance means when you deduct recurrent expenditure and interest expenditure from total revenue, what is the rest? Whether you have negative or positive. In Sri Lanka, always negative. That means our total revenue is not sufficient to meet our current expenditure, interest payment. Then from where we are going to find financial resource to
Sir, I think your
Sir,
mic.
Sir, no audio, sir.
Your mic, I think, muted.
Somebody has muted. So should I start from the beginning?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Only very few words. You please start. Yeah.
Okay, primary balance. So this is a historical perspective. Except few years, always we have negative primary balance. That means our total revenue is not sufficient to meet our even consumption. You can see here, primary balance means total revenue minus recurrent expenditure minus interest expenditure. When you have minus or negative primary balance, that means your revenue is not sufficient to meet even your consumption. For capital expenditure, what we are going to do? Either private sector should fill the gap or we have to borrow. Our government continuously follow this strategy. So internally, when we need Sri Lankan rupee for a lot of budgetary application, borrowing is the strategy. So that strategy cannot give you, rapid development, long-lasting development. This is one factor, historical factor. Then trade balance. What is the meaning of trade balance? The gap between export and import. Again, except few years in 1950s, always we have deficit. I would like to mention one point here. When we regain our independence, when you see the data from 1960s, Sri Lanka was third richest country in Asia after Japan and Malaysia. Particularly Thailand, South Korea were behind to Sri Lanka. Now, what is the situation? Why we are borrowing from all over the world. Particularly Bangladesh is a case in point. When Bangladesh gained her independence in 1971, American State Secretary Henry Kissinger mentioned Bangladesh is the bottomless basket. But now we are borrowing from Bangladesh. Then what happened to Sri Lanka then? So always trade deficit. Why we were sleeping continuously? We are sleeping. Here, these are the answers. So Sri Lanka could not focus on export diversification. Since 1948, we were exporting tea, rubber, and coconut. After liberalization in 1977, we started to export garment. So in the 21st century, by exporting tea, rubber, coconut, and garments, you cannot get a lot of revenue. These are cheap goods. But we are importing a lot of electronic items, vehicles, everything, expensive item. So that's what the export revenue is very less. Import costs are very huge. You can see what we are exporting: textile and garments, agriculture, rubber product. So machinery is, we are not exporting that much. So we could not diversify our production. We could not diversify our exports. What we are importing, again, consumer goods, textile we are importing, garments we are exporting, refined petroleum, crude oil. 100% we are depending on imports for these petroleum products. Okay, largely we are importing consumer goods. Sri Lanka is an island nation. We have a lot of resources. Even Sri Lanka is an island nation. We are importing dry fish and canned fish. Everywhere we have rivers. We are importing milk powder from Australia and New Zealand. These are the policy errors. You need to have a best policies and plan and execution. But terribly we have failed. You can see current account balance. Singapore always surplus. Thailand, except this East Asian crisis, surplus. Vietnam, there's a socialist country till 1990. Now this former socialist country is experiencing trade surplus. South Korea, except East Asian crisis period, surplus. Malaysia, surplus. Philippines, on and off, surplus. India, remarkably, in 2020, India also enjoyed surplus, but Sri Lanka continuously deficit. So we could not expand our production as well as exports. That is our mistake. And issues not addressed in the medium term. Very briefly, I am talking with you. Electricity, 57% is coming from coal power plant, 16% is coming from hydropower, 12% diesel. So coal and diesels are imported. 100% we are depending on other countries. Whenever prices of these items goes up in the world market, we will struggle. So Sri Lanka is an ideal country for solar power, but our policymakers did not focus on these renewable energy sources, including solar power. Sri Lanka is an ideal country. Now we are paying the price. We are in the dark due to this policy mistake. And we have a lot of loss-making entities: Ceylon Electricity Board, Petroleum Corporation, Sri Lankan Air, Sri Lankan Railway. Particularly, I have to mention one thing. Petrol and electricity, both are lucrative industries in the world. But in Sri Lanka, both are loss-making entities. Billions of billions we pump. Now, both entities have failed terribly. That's why we are in the darkness. So defense expenditure, I have to mention why another mistake. Rather than saying mistake, maybe due to some sort of strategic reason, Sri Lankan government could not reduce the defense expenditure even after the war ended in 2009. So focus on education, research and development, technological development was not sufficient. Here you can see the data. 2022. So largest ministry in Sri Lanka is defense. Then again, public security, this is police, this is tri-forces, this is police. And education is not enough. Technology, this much. You can see, you can understand. Finance ministry, huge allocation. That is to repay the loan. Then we are struggling with huge public debt because after 2008, Sri Lanka is a lower middle income country. Sri Lanka is not a lower income country. So we need to borrow significantly from commercial sources. We did that. But for what? For a lot of unsolicited project. What do you mean by unsolicited project? Solicited project means in our plan, we have priority. These are the projects we need to implement quickly. Unsolicited, not on the priority list. But China targeted that unsolicited project because China promised we will give you fund for harbor, airport, and huge infrastructure. But we need investment on renewable energy sources. That did not happen. Here you can see, since 2006, our government borrowed significantly from commercial sources. Hambantota Port. At the beginning, Sri Lankan government offered this project to India. Smartly, India refused to accept because India knows that this is not a viable project. But China took it over. Hambantota Port. Mattala Mahinda Rajapaksa International Airport. This airport also in Hambantota. Hambantota is a hometown of our former president and current president. And Southern Highway. We need highways. Definitely we need highways. But priority base, we need Colombo, Dambulla highways. There are a lot of districts. But Southern Highway, there are 2-3 districts. Hambantota and Matara, both are not a populated district. Okay. We have another priority. Then Surya Weber Cricket Stadium, Lotus Tower in Colombo, then Nelum Pokuna Mahinda Rajapaksa Theatre. China funded everything. Okay. All other projects funded by China. Unsolicited project. Because China wanted a harbor and airport in southern part of Sri Lanka to ensure their Belt and Road initiative. Now we are paying the price. This Hambantota port, we could not repay to China. So we have leased out that port to China for 99 years. Now you can understand what's going on. Then as a result, our debt burden is huge as a percentage of GDP, more than 100%. Then you can see international sovereign fund also there. So altogether, 112%. So when we earn 100 rupees, we have borrowed 112 rupees. So Sri Lanka is in a debt trap. So you can see here, central government debt as a percentage of GDP more than 100%. Total foreign debt as a percentage of export. So when we receive $100, but foreign debt is $250. Total debt service as a percentage of GDP, 13%. Our revenue, tax revenue as a percentage of GDP is 8%, but total debt service 13%. But this is important. Total debt service as a percentage of government expenditure is 48%, roughly 58%. That means whenever we spend 100 rupees, nearly 50 rupees goes for debt service. So the balance 50 we have to manage for everything. Then again we are borrowing. Debt service as a percentage of government revenue is 141%. So when we get 100 rupees, 41 rupees debt service. Now you can understand what is the situation in Sri Lanka. Then reason for current crisis. Number one, our government, there are criticism. Our government could not handle the pandemic at the beginning properly. Rather than handing over the responsibility to the medical expert, our government used military personnel. And at the beginning, India offered 500,000 jabs. That was the time Sri Lanka would have ordered at least 2-3 million jabs. We didn't do that. That's why there was a delay. Now you can see all island nations like Philippines, Australia, New Zealand, all island nations are out of the pandemic largely, but Sri Lanka is struggling. So we are depending on tourism. We received roughly $5 billion per annum through the tourism. So after pandemic, Sri Lankan economy collapsed. We experienced minus 3.6% growth, but Maldives experienced minus 18% growth. But nobody's talking about Maldives. That country has recovered except Sri Lanka. So that is one issue. Then during pandemic time, our government took a decision to ban chemical fertilizer, pesticide, weedicide, etc. So principally, we have to agree, we have to move towards the organic agriculture. That's fine. But you have to do that gradually, systematically, after training farmers, after ensuring organic fertilizer, but without doing anything, all overnight, government banned the chemical fertilizer, pesticide, weedicide. As a result, agricultural sector collapsed. Now we are importing rice from India. First time in the history, revenue from tea export declined. That is another disaster we invited. Then corruption, another issue everywhere. Then for the, more than maybe 2 years, we have, flexible exchange rate. But central bank did not allow that to happen. The exchange rate was artificially managed. Then, when you see flexible exchange rate, the market forces will determine. When you export, dollar is coming, that is supply. When you import, dollar is going, that is demand. So when you have a lot of demand, your supply is very less, then the price will go up. That is appreciation of dollar, depreciation of rupee. That will happen automatically. But our central bank stopped that, intervened heavily, borrowed from other commercial sources and put in the market. So no depreciation. So at one point, exchange rate against dollar was buying rate 193 rupees, selling 103 rupees. But parallelly, the Undial system or Hawala system emerged. So Sri Lankan migrant workers started to send through this Undial method or Hawala method. So that money did not reach bank. So tourism sector also collapsed. As a result, the tourist income also did not reach the banks. So there was a scarcity of foreign exchange among banks. Central bank pressurized all banks. Okay, when you receive, foreign exchange, 10% you have to hand over to central bank and get the Sri Lankan rupee. Again, that rate was increased to 25%. Again, 50%. Already banks were struggling, but central bank pressurized again and again. At one point, all banks realized they don't have foreign reserve. Then when our exporters or importers approached to import gas, petrol, pharmaceutical, bank said, you can't open LC, letter of credit, because we don't have dollar. That's why the scarcity started. Now we don't have petrol for more than 1 month. We don't have gas. I have 2 cylinders. Yesterday I bought a hot plate. Very difficult situation. Petrol everywhere queue. And pharmaceutical, another issue. There's a scarcity. Australia, many people are depending on pharmacies. So another health crisis is happening. So parallelly, central bank printed billions of billions money. Our inflation went up. Official inflation is 18%, but some are saying it will be 74%. But prices are soaring every day. As a result, we have power cut, shortages for petrol, diesel, gas, kerosene oil, pharmaceutical. Now we are importing rice. Now you can tell me how Sri Lanka entered towards this type of disaster. And then default. First time in the history of Sri Lanka, we have done this. This is not a hard default. It's a suspension. But Sri Lanka has mentioned to the creditors, at the moment we are unable to give you your money, but we will give you with interest. If needed, you can capitalize interest plus your original capital. Later, we'll give you both interest and capital. Otherwise, you can get in the Sri Lankan rupee. If you need now, we will give you Sri Lankan rupee, not dollar. So they have suspended, Sri Lankan government or central bank has suspended the repaying the loan. Not hard default. Hard default means we will not give you anything. Go. That did not happen. So there was a delay approaching IMF. Our former governor said, I will never go to the IMF. He was adamant. So now the country is paying the price. Now our central bank governors, ministers, and other experts are in America. They are discussing. Indian Finance Minister, Dr. Nirmala Sitharaman, also in Washington. India is also supporting to Sri Lanka. India also asking IMF to provide necessary financial support. But when we borrow from China or India, there are two conditions. One is we need to discuss about the interest rate. Second one is the duration, maturity period. That will be the condition. But IMF different. IMF will not talk about interest and maturity period alone. IMF will study the economic condition. IMF will identify certain issues and put a condition. There are issues within the economic system. You have to correct that. One is tax revenue, very low. Sri Lanka is one of the countries in the world having that type of very low level of tax revenue. That is one. Then expenditure. We have a lot of loss-making entities. So IMF definitely will ask to rationalize these all loss-making entities and corruption. And these are the conditions for the Sri Lankan government to accept immediately because the social unrest is going on. This is a critical period for the country. When Sri Lanka increase tax rate, then the situation will be worsening. Then government cannot reduce welfare expenditure either. That will fuel the unrest further. So that's why we are in a critical situation. When we try to get financial support from IMF, it will not come quickly. It will take 4 to 6 months. We are asking, IMF normally will give 2 billion, but we expect $4 billion now. If IMF accept 4 billion, it will come, stages, not the full amount. So we have to wait for that also. Currently, to import, petrol, gas, pharmaceutical, rice, extremely, essential item, we need 1.2 billion per month. So that's why ship is coming to Colombo port. Next day, scarcity. Ship is coming with the gas. After 2 days, scarcity. Because this is a country, 22 million people. So suddenly, with 4 billion, 5 billion, we can't recover. That's what I show you, the historical evidence. We have to, expand our exports. We have to reduce as much as possible imports. So India achieved self-sufficiency in milk, but we are importing milk powder from New Zealand and Australia. That is very good lesson we have to learn from India. India exporting rice. India exporting wheat flour. How? 130 crore people, but 22 million people we have. So we are importing milk powder. We are importing canned fish. We are importing dry fish. These are the policy errors, historical policy errors we have to address. Otherwise, by asking loan from other countries, all are short-lived. For 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, we can manage. For the longer term, we have to put the foundation, like Thailand, like South Korea, like Malaysia. Now Vietnam is coming out. We were with East Asian countries. We were not with South Asian countries in terms of per capita GDP. We were with East Asian countries. So yesterday, we had a march to support the people who are engaging some sort of protest in the Goldways Creek. So our FUTA, Federation of University Teachers Association, I also went there. So situation is worsening day by day. One side, economic crisis, another side, political crisis, then social side, everywhere we are moving towards a critical situation. So that's why I mentioned at the beginning, this is a man-made disaster. I cannot use the word crisis. Crisis is soft, but for us, this is a catastrophe. I'm unable to use the word crisis. Crisis is short-lived and soft. But really, we are struggling. For my understanding, this is the first time I face this type of situation. Thank you very much for listening me. I will answer to your questions.
Great, Professor. Thank you so much. It is a wonderful presentation. It is a wholehearted presentation, and it is an emotional presentation also. And it is you are having a good amount of data to present this webinar. Thank you, Dr. Arul Jyoti. Please coordinate this questionnaire session.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Gopinath is already raising his
Yes,
hand.
sir. Raise his hand and
You ask them to introduce themselves and raise the other question.
Dr.
Can I?
Gopinath, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
You ask them to introduce themselves and ask their question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I understand. Can I
Thank you.
proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Please.
please.
Yeah, my name is Gopinath, working with MS Swaminarayan Research Foundation, Chennai. Professor, thank you very much for such a wonderful lecture, and also I opened many things that what we assumed about this current, as you said, the disaster happening in Sri Lanka. And you have rightly pointed out, I would like to highlight this point that you have pointed out importance of maintaining production of food crops, food products. So whatever policy we introduce, that should not affect production of food crops, because that is the key for maintaining food security. But my question is, see, you have, from your talk, I understand that some external forces or some driving forces forced the government, as you said, that man-made mistake to invest hugely in an unwarranted areas, or which doesn't give income since 2006. That was the, as you said, that was a major reason for this increasing external debt. So what was the driving force, you feel? What was the driving force, or were the driving forces for such kind of huge unwarranted investment in that area? That is my first question. Second one is, there is a popular say in India, even yesterday, one of our high profile government official commented that if we maintain such kind of subsidies in India, we will also end up with like Sri Lanka. The thing is, what they want to convey to public is a mismanagement, a financial mismanagement due to huge subsidies is the reason for Sri Lankan disaster. This is my question. I'm ending my question. Yeah. Sorry. The thing is, what some economists in India is, I mean, they are trying to make something like popular mismanagement, financial mismanagement of huge subsidies are the reason for this disaster in Sri Lanka. Is it so, or other way? That's all. Thank you.
Yes, you asked me first question, what were the factors for this investment on unsolicited projects? Yes, both sides. We have to say openly. Our government also wanted investment. China had a policy regarding this Belt and Road initiative. So our government also opted the opportunity, and China also utilized that. But when we see the outcome of these projects, without revenue, we have invested, but the liability is there. That's what I told you. We have to develop infrastructure in and around Colombo city, on traffic condition, then on renewable energy source. So I show you the budgetary allocation. Education, Sri Lanka is giving free education to all from grade 1 to university. So we need to spend a lot of money on education. That will happen. Then R&D, research and development, technology development were not the priority. So that's why we could not move like Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand. So that's why we are struggling. That is one question. Then welfareism. In even 1960s, one professor called John Robinson mentioned Sri Lanka, try to eat fruit without before planted the tree. Sri Lanka, Ceylon try to eat fruits before planted the tree. Because without economic fundamental, Sri Lanka, Ceylon introduced welfareism, free, everything free, price ration, free education, free health, everything free. But in the current world, you cannot survive with a lot of freebies. Now we are paying the price for that. I agree with you. Yes.
I'm sorry to intervene again. Professor, my point is, I think I didn't convey it properly. Is that the current financial management, is it due to all this welfareism? That's what I mean. That's
one factor. At the beginning, just that is one factor. Not only welfareism, that is one factor, I would say. Definitely mismanagement.
Barney.
Sir,
Yes, Jyoti.
Ask them.
Dr. S. Manikandan, sir, he has raised his hand, sir. Maybe he may have some queries, I hope. Dr. S. Manikandan, sir.
Yes, madam. Good
Sir,
evening,
please,
professor.
sir.
I am Manikandan, assistant professor in economics, Zero Arts and Science College. So I have one doubt. Number of the one of participants previously asked the indirect forces, but I am not straight way. The China is the Sri Lankan clutches under the control of China is a majority of the media published in India. We are every day watch it like that. This is my first question. It's right or wrong? Do you agree or not? And then second one is, if right, what are it is realized by officials or politicians in Sri Lanka? This is my second question. Third one is, if they realized, what are the steps to be taken by the government from the recovery of these types of crises? That's all, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I could not hear you properly. There are a lot of breaks up. But you asked me about China's
Yes, sir.
loan, the first one.
Yes, sir.
Just after 2006, after the regime change, 2006, as I mentioned, Sri Lanka became a low middle income country in 2008. So we could not borrow massively from World Bank, IMF and ADB because Sri Lanka is not a low income country. Then we had to borrow from commercial sources, but China came in. China offered largely for infrastructure project. Our government also accepted that without thinking whether these projects are viable or not. Both sides, China, as you are aware, China will focus heavily on their interest.
Yes, sir.
Their interest only. But when you see India, India will go beyond that. Whenever needs come, India is coming first. India also wants a lot of investment in Sri Lanka. But whenever needs come, India is the only country comes quickly. So India goes behind the self-interest. So that difference is there, actually. We need to understand that fact.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have one more doubt. You know very well about some of the port maintenance in Sri Lanka hand over to the Indian private companies. After the intervention of Chinese government, the contract between Indian company will was released. How to face the problems? Did you realize the problems of the Sri Lankan government point of view, sir?
Oh, I also noticed not only India, 2-3 incidents. One is
Yes.
American sponsored this MCC, $2,600 million. So many people oppose that. So the current government scrapped that MCC. We lost 2.6 billion. That's a grant. Then Japan also offered us a light railway project. Japan is the important country from the beginning to help Sri Lanka. We lost that also. Then India wanted one agreement called Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, CEPA. So under that agreement, India wanted to export goods and services from both base. Not only goods, services also. That did not work because the opposition parties and others opposed that. That is one. India lost. Then in the Colombo port, there's a East Container Terminal. India wanted that. But again, trade union opposed that. As you mentioned, sometimes there are politics. Then Sri Lankan government offered a Western Terminal. Possibly Adani is developing that. So that type of issues we have really.
Yes, sir. Sir, is there any steps taken by government from the recovery, sir, for recovery?
Any steps?
Any steps taken by government for the recovery of economy of Sri Lanka?
Just maybe yesterday President addressed to the nation. He said the banning chemical fertilizer is a mistake. Now we are going to import chemical fertilizer. He offered subsidy to farmers, fertilizer subsidy. He accepted that mistake. Then again he mentioned avoiding IMF bailout was a wrong decision. He accepted that also. That's why the team is in America now. Too late. But when IMF comes, then you can see many international lender will say, okay, IMF's there, Sri Lankan economy will recover, then Sri Lanka will be in a position to borrow easily. Otherwise, the credit rating will go down again and again. So we are in the C category. C means extremely bottom. Next category is default. So we are in the marginal position. So we need desperately, we need a lot of dollars.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Sir, I am Shivashankar, presently working in Pondicherry Central University. My question is that how this disaster affect different ethnic groups, particularly how it's affect Sinhalese and it's how affect in Tamil groups.
When you put easy words, I would say this situation, everywhere queue, everywhere scarcity, everywhere price increase, that is common for everybody. But for Sinhalese people, those who are living in the southern part of Sri Lanka, except Northeast, this is a first experience. They did not experience this type of, disaster, previously. Everywhere queue, everywhere shortage, prices are going up. And price increase for petrol, one day 84 rupees, then diesel more than 100 rupees. We did not experience this. So for them, this is the first experience. That's why they are very much angry. And for the Tamil people, those who are living in the Northeast, particularly from the former war zone, they experience this type of scarcity, price increase, shortages. And that's why they are silent. You can see Northeast, everywhere silence. They are observing. But the problem is same. Everywhere queue, everywhere shortage, everywhere price increase. But Tamil community, those who have the migrant network, due to the depreciation of Sri Lankan rupee, huge depreciation, earlier $1, maximum 203 rupees, now roughly 340 rupees. So their income is going up. So they are going to get the benefit. Those who have migrants in the family, particularly in the western part of, western countries. So huge income. That benefit is there.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yaudaman sir, please ask your doubts.
Sir, only one question, sir. So now the people are protesting to come down of Rajapaksa, that is President and Prime Minister. Whether if they come down, the crisis or as you said, a catastrophe will get into a safer side, sir?
No, that is one argument, one demand, and but we need to see the practicality and Constitution will not allow that. Then if the president resigns, then Prime Minister should take up. Otherwise, Speaker will take up. We are unable to go to the election quickly because we don't have resources. People are very much angry. So sometime when we go for election, situation will be worse. So very carefully we have to handle. And I'm not saying there should not be a regime change, but many people, particularly those who supported to the current regime, they are on the street now. They are demanding.
Yes, sir. The demand is correct, sir. But if a regime change is coming and another person is coming also, the same scenario is going to happen, no, sir. It is going to continue.
I think that if there's a regime change, and then the recovery will be quicker. Recovery, I would say, all over the night. I don't think there will be a sudden change, but
Yes,
recovery will be quicker. That is the word I can use.
Yes, yes. Okay, thank you, sir. Thanks for your nice presentation, sir. So we had learnt the real situation there going on.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now I request Sivaramakrishnan sir, please ask your doubts.
I am Dr. Chandrachud from Chennai, Wales University. Really, the webinar is very emotional, but I want to ask one doubt. Before asking the doubt, I want to share one information. After that only I want to ask. In 1923, Weimar, in Germany, they suffered with a hyperinflation because they printed notes enormously. They have printed. Because of that only, a galloping inflation was there. So all the essential products are very high priced. That's why they suffered. The Sri Lanka also commit the same mistake. They have printed enormous notes. Secondly, you have made a very good point about the negative primary balance. The total revenue with the actual revenue expenditure and interest payment. But the Sri Lankan government have concentrated only to increase the revenue, not try to restrict the expenditure or interest payment. You keep on add money in the economy. That is why there is a hyperinflation now. All the essential products is having very high price. But my question is, now you people are thinking that when IMF or other developed countries come forward to pump money or dollars, then the situation will get recovered. In my opinion, I'm saying, when you inject more money, or India or IMF or America or Canada, whichever country, if they give money, then once again it will be more inflationary rate. Definitely, the Sri Lanka cannot survive. It's my opinion. So already it is inflated. How once you receive the money, how you repay the interest and other things? The only way, what I feel, you have to restrict the consumption. That should be a ration. And there should be a change of government, of course. That government should have a right policy stating that there should be some equality. A communism sort of approach should be there. Instead of, if you have money, then it will be solved. If you think, definitely the country cannot survive. Why? Because already you are over loaned. You have borrowed a lot of money. The commercial borrowing is in peak. Secondly, now it's my doubt. Why Sri Lankan government concentrate only on borrowing the money rather than improving the economy? I want your opinion only.
Very good, very good, very good question. That's why I started with the historical background. I mentioned about primary balance, negative primary balance. So we need to improve our own revenue base. Then I show you the trade deficit historically. That's why I specified we have to expand our export base. So without these two, importantly, borrowing will not resolve our issue. That's why I started with that. That is a historical mistake. We need to address those things. Okay, we need to improve our revenue base. We need to diversify our export like other countries. That's why I mentioned Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore. I'm talking about this. Forget about India and China, because India and China both are giants. I cannot compare Sri Lanka with India or China. India also doing, China also doing. But we need to do that. Then, yes, true, rather than focusing on revenue, our government continuously focus on expenditure side. That is wrong. That's why we are paying the price now. But importantly, tourism sector normally will give us $5 billion. The remittances roughly $7 billion, then $12 billion. So the both sectors are struggling now. Due to the mismanagement of exchange rate, remittances did not reach banks unofficially through Undial and Kavala method is coming. That's why one factors. Okay, we are struggling. Then second one, tourism. When tourism recover, we can get another 5 billion. So as you mentioned, we cannot survive by borrowing only. We need to see other aspects. That's why I highlighted that issue. Yes, correct.
Secondly, we are 1.3, 130 crore people are there, but India is exporting the food items. Sir, your country is an island and surrounded with the seawater. You don't have water resources or other resources like India. So what I want to say, it is a wrong comparison with India, because you can import food, but nothing wrong in it. The thing is, you have a very good resource like tourism or transport and other service area. You are the best country. The only thing is there is a lack of cooperation, because always there is a fight between the government and the public.
Okay.
So what my suggestion is, I am just making a suggestion. If you start concentrating on essential products, now you have to concentrate only on essential product, not the service product like petroleum or chemical. Or if you concentrate in this, definitely the economy will deteriorate only. So what we have to do, concentrate more on essential product alone. That should be a ration. So, sir, really fantastic webinar. After a long time, I attended a very good webinar. I really feel happy that you shared that you are in a very pathetic situation in your account, but still you are conveying good information. A lot of data are there, really appreciable one. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
We do meet again.
Okay. One point I have to highlight here, as you mentioned, we are importing rice now, but Sri Lanka is a, gift of the nature, because surrounded by sea, the strategic point, that's the advantage. I don't know to what extent we have utilized that. Second one is, everywhere we have river. Mahavali is the longest river. We don't have water scarcity in this country. No water scarcity at all. No fight for water. So Sri Lankan agriculture sector is a vibrant, but this is the first time due to the sudden ban of chemical fertilizer we are struggling. Otherwise, normally simply we can achieve self-sufficiency in paddy production. And we don't have water scarcity. Everywhere river, very big rivers, including Mahavali. So the mistake is with our policy and plan.
Okay.
That's it. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, thank you very much. I also two questions or two doubts. Number one is that the main source of revenue for Sri Lankan government is tourism, remittance, and FDI. We could able to understand that the tourism is affected because of COVID-19 pandemic situation, and why the remittance and FDI flow has drastically reduced, has been drastically reduced. What are the reasons for this? This is one of the crisis for this current situation. And second question is that in 2020 October, there is an amendment to take place in your parliament, and this amendment leads to increase the powers of president, or the centralization of powers of president has been drastically increased through the amendment. Is that the centralization of power, which is one of the reasons for this crisis? These are the two questions for you. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So tourism sector is, struggling now due to the pandemic. Before Easter Sunday attack also affected our tourism industry. That's why we are unable to get $5 billion. And you asked about FDI. When Sri Lanka liberalized her economy in 1977, Sri Lanka was the first country in South Asia which liberalized the economy. So a lot of FDI came in. Bank of Tokyo, Sony, Motorola, Ericsson, all multinational companies came in. But after 1983, the ethnic war, that all companies left for Malaysia. Now we are importing these items from Malaysia. So even after the war, you can see, after the war, we could not improve our doing business index. So foreign investors are looking at that. So no improvement, like Singapore and other countries, they are challenging with us. These are the one reason that is our mistake. And war also contributed for a lot of debacle. And as you mentioned, when Jayawardena introduced this liberalization in 1977, he introduced this presidential system with a lot of power. He was in a position to check the parliament within 1 year time, after 1 year. So a lot of powers. Then there was a criticism, and people wanted to scrap the presidential system. Then 2015 we reduced the power of president through this 19th amendment. Then due to the Easter Sunday attack, there was angry against Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and President Maithripala Sirisena. That's why this current government got 2/3 majority. So easily they changed the system. Again, the president power was consolidated. Now again, there's another story. Sometime 21st, amendment will come. Then many are thinking we have to abolish this presidential system. This is coming, going, always discussion. But the victim is the country. Victim is the country. We need rapid development. We have potential. That's the issue. The strategic location, limited population. We don't have huge diversity. India has that challenge. Pakistan has challenge. But we don't have that type of huge diversity. So easily we can develop. Through free education, we have educated labor force. Not that much income inequality. So there are potential for the quick development. But through politics, everything happening, politics is playing a key role, not economy. That's why we are struggling.
Great, sir. Thank you.
Any questions from the participants? Please ask.
தமிழ்ல யாராவது தமிழ்ல கடைசியா கேட்கறதாலும் கேளுங்க, பிரச்சனை இல்லை.
அதான் முதல்ல சொன்னாங்க, அவங்க தமிழ்ல சொல்ல முடியுமான்னாங்க. நீங்க கடைசியில தமிழ்ல கேளுங்கன்னு நான் சொன்னேன்.
யாராவது தமிழ்ல கேட்கனா கேளுங்க, ஒரு பிரச்சனையும் இல்லை.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes.
Sir, good evening. I'm Dr. Mariappan from Loyola College, Chennai. Very nice presentation, and I would like to thank Mani sir also. Timely topic you have chosen, and the kind of deliberation is also very nicely going, sir. My humble suggestion I wanted to share with you. Even we are seeing kind of pandemic situation across the globe, and the crisis in a different format in different countries. Financial crisis, health pandemic situation, that a natural disaster and all we are facing. Right person they have chosen from the place where they all affected, and to deliberate all these ideas. Even though many the participants also, professors have shared their knowledgeable insights also, how to just recover from that area. From my perspective, I'm sharing just pumping additional amount of a money flow, surely it is going to create inflationary tendency. And the proper policy, the major idea, as you rightly said, man-made disaster, policy paralysis happened. And at least from now on, they should take it as a lesson. Even though they are getting amount of financial resources from the international body, surely every international forum ready to support and just bring back any economy if it is falling down. Because no individual investor will come forward, or no any private organizations will come forward. Surely there will be a great chance of recovering. Here we need of the hour to think about the Sri Lanka. What best policy makers, knowledgeable people like you, they should incorporate, and they should take sector-wise development. Individual sector-wise development is very much need of the hour, sir. This is my humble point I wanted to register over here.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Mike. Thank you.
Sir,
Yeah.
I want to make one request to Mani, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, if possible, kindly share this PPT, sir.
Definitely. Not only the PPT, sir, and we are stored it in YouTube, and we will share immediately, sir, after the completion of this.
If possible, the contact detail of our guest will be more beneficial, sir. We can share our views to him because he's a very eminent personality. So kindly share his contact details also, sir.
Yeah,
it will be more useful because that intellectual asset should be shared everywhere. Nah.
Thank you.
Sure,
Kindly
sure,
share.
Professor, definitely. And one of an acclaimed economist, Dr. Prasad Rao, is here. He is a professor and former rector of Andhra University, Visakhapatnam. Of course, he has joined a little bit late. Whether I wish to know, Professor Prasad Rao has any observation to share? Dr. Prasad Rao from Andhra University. Prasad Rao Garu. It's okay. Arul Jodi or Saravana Kumar, you please ask them, or otherwise we shall go for vote of thanks.
Yes, sir. Mani, sir. Our principals, sir, directors, sir.
Whether they have joined?
No,
No,
sir. I think so. No.
No. Yeah. Yes. So that
okay, sir. We shall go for vote of thanks, sir.
Yeah. Fine. Thank you.
Oh, okay, sir. Now I'll invite Dr. C.A. Pal, sir.
Yeah. Prasad Rao Garu.
Please.
Am I audible to you?
Yes, audible.
Okay.
Yeah. You please share your observation. Yeah, one of the notable economists on poverty and development in India. You please share your.
I'm sorry I was late.
I have observed.
I was traveling, but I got some time and suddenly stopped my journey and joined in this meeting. I'm really grateful to you.
Thank you.
And Professor Amritalingam ji, how are you, sir?
Fine, sir. Fine, sir. We are very close. Andhra University is not a faraway place for me.
Sir, you are all some of your colleagues are good examiners, and we had a wonderful relations with our department.
Yes, sir.
Department of Economics, Andhra University.
Yes, sir.
We really proud such kind of relations you have with your department and the other universities in the entire Sri Lanka and South Asian, East Asian, South Asian countries. Okay, I headed some time back SAARC countries, SAARC nations. We have a wonderful center in the SAARC. Andhra University at the SAARC Center, and so I worked for some time in that as honorary director, and we provided inputs regarding all these in the SAARC countries, particularly the development. So with regard to the education, with regard to the health and other sectors, including foreign trade and agriculture, industry, all sorts of things. And also we discussed at length the relationships among these nations. And from time to time, any issues arise, and we discussed and shared our views. And this is one of the best occasions to share some of my thoughts in this particular seminar or talk. And one observation, I visited economics department sometime back. So it was around 6-7 years back, and so we had a wonderful time with that the connection. I attended some international conference in Colombo, and I took that occasion and visited the department. Dr.
Welcome.
Professor Amala, am I audible to you, sir?
Yes, he's
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
Yes, Professor.
Yeah, Professor Amala, she's there, and
Yes, she's my colleague.
It's a good friend of mine. When I was at Sussex, I used to talk to her and discuss in detail some of the important aspects of our the South Asian countries' economy. And so we visited this department, and particularly I wanted to see her after 15-20 years gap. I wanted to see her, so I visited there, and so I was so happy. She's luckily she was there, and we had a talk, and all of our colleagues joined, and they offered me a cup of coffee and discussed. And I asked one thing. Tell me one thing about great about your country. Sri Lanka is very, very prosperous, is a developing country. There's no doubt about it. And people shared so much. On the face of earth, any intellectual without visiting Sri Lanka, nobody is there on the face of earth. That's what I believe. Such a wonderful country. And whenever I used to talk, our colleagues, our friends, and particularly the foreign friends, and they talk to me. And whenever they find time, they used to go to Sri Lanka because they enjoy a lot. There's a tourist center, and they enjoy a lot. They had took leave and go to the Sri Lanka and spend some time and rejuvenate there and come back country back and share, participate in their academic activity very enthusiastically. This was the routine situation happening in the all the Western countries. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Only one thing I want to share, and I just quit. Okay. And I discussed one important thing. What is the great about our country? They mentioned the great about our country is hardly you can see poverty in Sri Lanka. But whereas we can show you poverty in Western countries. I was really amazed, absolutely amazed and really stunned. And I traveled 350 kilometers among coastline in the Sri Lanka, and very keenly observed the situation. And people are very happy. Only maybe it's a small incomes, but people are very happy. I see such kind of behavior among the people in 5, 6, 7 years back, but suddenly it happened. I was really not suddenly, but it's happening. It's deteriorating slowly. So when I heard Professor Amruthalingam's speech, and some of is answering some of the questions, I observed this. This is not suddenly happened, but over a period of time, is slowly it's deteriorating. That's pitiable, and it is not only for me. It is shocking news throughout the world. If you take any person in the any intellectual in the face of earth, they say the same thing, and it is quite it is quite possible. So you analyzed so many reasons, and particularly I'm talking about the Human Development Index. All the indicators, the education index, health index, and income, and other important aspects, they're quite advanced in all these indicators. But suddenly, what happened is we do not know. And you analyzed some of the important aspects. So maybe in the short run, not in the very short run, but maybe later on. So these things will disappear, and again we'll see the rejuvenate very soon our economy, and people will be very happy to participate in economic activity. And at the moment, the economic activity slow down, but these are the only say limited, I believe, limited period, limited time, and in the coming future, and all these, very soon they overcome these difficulties, and they start very say energetic life in the participating in all sorts of things. You just mentioned the agriculture. Agriculture, for example, definitely agriculture is the key. So in addition to that, but some difficulties arise in recent times as a policy matter. And so that's why some of the important issues they ignored. As a result, faced lots of problems in terms of food, in terms of economy, in terms of generating employment, in terms of generating small incomes to people in the Sri Lankan economy. That's what I observed in recent times. Thank you very much for giving me this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, Professor Prasad Garu. Since you are an expert in poverty, you have keenly observed these things in that country. It is also very good input, I think, in this webinar. How a country, a wonderful country which has no poverty, even yes, plainly says that even you can find the chronic poverty in a developed country in Europe, but you cannot find such kind of a poverty in Sri Lanka. Such a wonderful country, suddenly there is a debacle, such kind of his own experience. This is a very good observation, very good input for the people, those who are participated in the webinar. Thank you, Prasad Rao.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so shall we go for what happened, sir?
Yes, fine. Thank you.
So this is the end of the session. So now I will invite Dr. C.A. Parisar to propose vote of thanks. So I think Sark has not joined, sir.
Sorry, Nigla Suludaga. Yes, you please.
Okay, sir.
So I would like to. Yes, please.
So I would like to thank our today's resource person, Dr. Amaralingam sir. Sir is from University of Colombo. So accepted our invitation and deliver an excellent speech. So bottom of my heart, so I thank on behalf of our Department of Economics, Erode Arts and Science College, so delivering a wonderful speech on the crisis of in the Sri Lanka. So I once again wholeheartedly thankful to you, sir. So I also thank our respected principal, sir, and I also thank our respected director, sir. So I also thank our head of the department, Dr. N. Mani, sir. So sir has arranged a wonderful resource person send this webinar. So I also thank the faculty members from Department of Economics, and also faculties from various departments of Erode Arts and Science College. So, and also I thank all the questions asked from various persons from all over the country. So I also thank the Prasad Rao and then Sundan Krishnamurthy sir, Sundan, very many persons. So also Shivasankar sir. So asking very many questions to the the resource person. So I also thank the participants from the various colleges and then academicians, also general public. So I also thank our students, so our Erode Arts and Science College students, as well as the other college students and the research scholars. So thank you for the opportunity given to me. So we will meet in the another webinar very soon. So thank you, sir, for this wonderful webinar session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your invitation.
Thank you very much, and thank you. There are many people, many academicians across the country and even from other countries also participated. Very particularly, other than our students, there are students from Nagarkoil and students from ST Hindu College, Nagarkoil, and then students from Tirunelveli also. They have joined in large number in both in our Zoom platform as well as in the YouTube channel. And we shall thank the Tamilnadu Science Forum. Tamilnadu Science Forum has extended his support because of some administrative problem. Our Zoom has not worked out, so that the Tamilnadu Science Forum has extended their support. And Mr. Badasai is with us to cooperate to make this event as successful. So we shall thank Tamilnadu Science Forum for their support and cooperation. Thank you, Saravana Kumar, and I think we shall end the session.
Thank you.
Sir, do you want to, even then after vote of thanks, do you want to tell anything? Dr. Saravana from Periyar University.
Sir, yeah, I am really sorry. I was not able to get the net connection, but I joined very late, and it was very happy. Actually, I was longing to hear what our Professor Amrithalingam sir was supposed to say, and I tried, and I had some link problem. I am actually now at the air card, so I don't have net connection, and I was not able to get. At last, I drove back down very fast so that at least I can get up at the tail end, because I don't miss any of your webinars. Because you provide good resource persons who are really thought-provoking and very interesting it would be. But still, I would hear a little bit of from our Amrithalingam sir, and very happy to hear you, sir. But and it was nice to hear the situation, real ground reality, which you have really said to us, which we read it only through newspapers, and we don't know what percentage of the thing which we are getting is really true, and how much it is false images has been projected. But you have given a very clear picture, and you have rightly enlightened the people. Thank you, sir. And we will also invite you in our department. I will ask Mani sir to support us. And we will also invite you in our department to give a lecture on the international economy of Sri Lanka and India, and what's your opinion. You will have a touch, sir. And I will also personally have a touch in getting you as the PhD examiner for my students. In this forum, I would like to just mention, thank you very much, sir, for your thought-provoking speech. I am really happy to hear it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mani sir, for calling me to speak.
Thank you, Dr. Saravana. We are having a YouTube link, and we will share with you. You can able to hear his full lecture. Don't worry.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, excuse me. It's Dr. Chandrachud again. Sir, actually, we are having an international conference by end of May, sir. Actually, he's a right person. I feel kindly share his details, sir. We want to include him as a resource person. It's an international conference, both in physical and things. So kindly share his contact details, sir. I will send the invitation.
Definitely.
Shall I have your mail ID, sir?
Sir, I have noted your mail ID and as well as your number, and after
thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sir, you are also invited for our international conference, sir. Definitely, I'll send the invitation to you. Mani sir, you also please come to our campus.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Your actual appreciation goes to Mani sir only, because such a wonderful webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Vanakkam, sir. ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம். Badshah ji, you please end up this webinar. Badshah sir. Badshah க்ளோஸ் பண்ணிடுங்க, எண்ட் கொடுத்துருங்க.